with us today. At the very end, Senator Muhammad, the People's Advocate, fights for children and families. Over the years, the Senator has been a tireless advocate of party an intimate understanding of the challenges that everyday families encounter through his work as a former staff attorney and child advocate at the Council for Children's Rights. And you can read more about his work as an assistant public defender and all the great public service he has given to North Carolina. To his left, we have Maria Maven, who has a background in theology, finance, and literary arts. She has spent 20 years in the insurance industry, and she's a certified financial planner. She also is a certified grant specialist. Her work in the nonprofit arena propelled her into the advocacy role for nonprofits in the arts. And in 1992, she won the Special Award for Arts presented by the Spirit Square Center for the Arts and Rural Insurance Company. Presently, Ms. Macon has completed her studies to become a paralegal, and she is the founder and director of the Mecklenburg Council of Elders, which is a leader in the expungement process. And to Sister Macon's left is Camille Stevens. She is the founder of Locked Out Love, Inc., which is a prisoner and families in transition program, aiding families and inmates with education, legal issues, reentry, housing, employment, transportation, and successful transition. Okay. And so let's go welcome Ms. Stevens, and then, last but not least, Brother Clifton Johnson was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, graduated in 1993 from North Carolina Central University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, gained employment with the North Carolina State Probation Office as a state probation officer between 1993 and 1995. He was hired in 1995 with the U.S. Courts with the Western District of North Carolina as a federal probation officer, currently employed for 23 years. And I am Madeline McClinney, the moderator, honored to have been asked by the Local Justice Ministry to moderate this discussion. Welcome. Let's welcome our guests.
Good afternoon. Bow your head and close your eyes. We want to thank you for allowing everyone to arrive here safely. We ask that you allow this to be a meaningful session and to help those in need of guidance and of redirection. We ask that you let the community come together and be able to change the lives of others. Allow every person in this room to leave with more knowledge than before. We thank you for the many blessings you continue to give us day in and day out. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Now we will have Nathan Hampton with the pledge.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And please bear with me, I acquired this little talk here after a couple of days. We want to begin with Mr. Johnson. And we'd like you to expound on before you do that, give us a synopsis of who you are, what is your role and your passion in helping incarcerated persons be reestablished with full citizen rights? After each panel.
Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
Clifton Johnson with federal probation, and my passion has always been for the past 24 years, growing up from Hampshire Hills, is to help those that are coming out of prison make their way back to families, get gainfully employed, stay out of trouble, and keep their focus and better themselves so that they can also teach the same thing to those that are coming out of prison as well. The struggle is that I have a duty, and the duty is that I have to make sure that home visits, employment visits, drug testing, etc., whatever the judge orders, I have to make sure that the defendant is doing all that he possibly can to make sure he's doing the right thing and not creating or putting himself in a position to be arrested. On the right side, there's humanity. There's the love and passion. There's empathy and sympathy. Those all come together. I don't get paid for that, but that's just who I am. And in order to apply those things, you have to call the defendants out or call my clients out when they are. I think that's one of the hardest things for any new probation officer at this point in time, right? To talk about the elephant that's in the room, and then establish a plan, set goals for them to achieve. No one likes to be called out. I'm pretty sure there's folks here that many be called out on certain things as well as myself. It's how life and things that we do that we fall short in. But I have to make sure that the offender meets the level of where I'm living or things that I consider to be valuable to me to make sure that I'm not spending my taxpayer money to continue to keep them incarcerated.
Mr. Johnson, can you speak a little bit, because we all have various understandings of how probation works, some of the expectations of someone on probation? Can you speak a little bit?
Expectations would be to make sure that they become gainfully employed, make sure they are not returning to the same environments that they were arrested, to make sure that they don't have a passport, they're not planning to leave the country or feel strong, to make sure that when we randomly drug test them on a regular basis, we have a system called hook that we don't. It's just a random call center. Their color comes up, they recognize their color, they have to submit a drug test for the day. And we have to make sure that their relationships with their families are okay, that they're not setting themselves up to be placed in situations of domestic issues that will have them to return back to jail. And actually make sure that we're appearing at the jobs, we're looking for jobs if they're unemployed, we're searching, we're waiting for phone calls with different resources around Mecklenburg County, Charlotte, all the way to Bryson State, to see if they can get our folks employed.
Thank you. Ms. Stevens, same question. Please give us a synopsis of who you are. What is your role or passion in helping people who've been incarcerated get reestablished with full citizen rights?
Okay. Good evening. My name is Camille Stephens, and I'm with Locked Out Love. The beginning process, I've been working with the Next Gen program, which has just been, I guess, branded in a couple of years, but actually it's the youth division of the employment office. You've probably heard of NC Works. And so with that process, it sounds like a lot what the job is for a probation officer, because I have individuals up to 24 years old that I work with. Some of them have a criminal past and some of them don't. And what that looks like for the ones who have criminal past is we go, we do home visits, make sure that they're gainfully employed, of course, make sure that they are staying in the right regulations or staying in the right protocol as far as it relates to their probation officer or what the expectations are. I go in, I meet with them, and we establish a plan for that individual to make sure they follow through so they won't find themselves back in the system again. On the other side, with Locked Out Love is an organization, nonprofit status that, thanks to Mark right here, the genius with nonprofit Maria Macon, Locked Out Love came about because I've personally done time. And I've done time because my son did it. And so every day that a parent has with a child, whether it be a boy or girl, then you feel like you've been locked up too. And so that's how I personally gained the Locked Out Love, because of what I've done, or what I currently do for the Next Gen program and with my son, is I see individuals who are in the prison system. Some of them don't have a path to go to, or don't have a goal, and don't have a support system. And so seeing that when I'm in the prison systems, whether it be federal or state, then I felt like it was a calling that God had me to start the Locked Out Love program that will allow our organization, along with those who work with me, to provide the services that they need. Because there's a process, and I call that the honeymoon process. Once they get out, what those expectations are of their family members, loved ones outside of their circle and inside of their circle. And if they don't have a structured process of what that looks like, then they will find, what we find is they will find themselves back in that same situation and back behind the bars. And so as a result of seeing what that looks like for the younger population as well as the older, there came about the birth of Locked Out Love.
Thank you. Ms. Megan, who are you? What is your role or your passion in helping incarcerated people reestablish their citizenship rights?
Okay, that's really interesting. I'm still working on who I am. And once I find out, I'll come back and let everyone else know. Because many people have identified me to me different ways. And so some people I'm their grandparents, and I set up their nonprofit organization, the Rights Land Coalition. To other people, I'm the lady that helped them get their criminal record expunged. To other people, I interpret the language of the church. So it all depends on what environment I'm in. The one that I bought into most recently is that I serve as a portal for individuals change. So basically a portal for change. I believe that wherever we find ourselves, regardless of where that is, there can be, and there is another place. I don't believe that I can't. I don't believe that there isn't a way. And so for that, I communicate that to other individuals. The bottom line for criminal record expungement is helping individuals that have lost their way to become whole again. And many times we've learned in the work we've done the last 4.5 years is that when we expunge criminal records, we really are setting individuals on the road to becoming whole. Sometimes for the first time, but at least whole again. And I like to feel that when they've been in prison or had some situation where they have criminal records, it was a place of development. We call prison hot, a place of development. Because therein you can sit, really get to yourself and understand what's going on and make some sense of the world as we see it today. So it's still evolving.
Thank you, thank you. Senator Muhammad, tell us who you are, what is your role and passion in helping incarcerated people become reestablished in citizenship rights?
So I just want to thank the Friendship family for having me here today, the Social Justice Ministry in Rosemary. I say thank you for the invitation. I know exactly who you are. You're doing God's work, an angel. So thank you so much for all the great stuff you folks are doing to help others. Can't thank you enough, especially the work that you guys have been doing with the FMBC County Public Defender's Office. So, folks, again, my name is Mustafa Muhammad. My day job is I'm a public interest attorney. I'm a proud legal eagle as well, graduated from North Carolina Central University School of Law. Proud part of the Charlotte Medical School. As you can see, one of our former assistant principals from CFS back here today as well. So a lot of great familiar faces in the house today. And it's because of that work that I've been able to do in our criminal justice system as a public defender, as a children's rights attorney. I've had the opportunity to run and now serve in the North Carolina General Assembly as one of your North Carolina State Senators. I will tell you part of the reason I got involved in this type of work is because even though I'm a trial trained in the public defender's office, I feel like I do a lot of social work for the most part. And no dig to anybody who earned the social worker degree. You've earned it. I'm not obviously a social worker, but we end up doing a how did that work, picking that up from our social workers in our offices. If you look at our office alone, we have 63 attorneys right here in Mecklenburg. We have 2 social workers in our office. And we serve a heavily indigent community. So we kind of have a lot of policies and principles, but a lot of the times the type of work that I've seen that inspired me to serve you in the courtroom and in our community rooms and work in North Carolina Senate is what I've seen in this community. Where I've seen a lot of our, especially Black and brown children, pushed out of our classrooms into jail cells. Where I've seen mothers who can't even afford to feed their children, much less pay their court fees and fines. And we're talking about this today. Men who are looking for second chances, that they continue to find oppression instead. And I'm one of those folks, I happen to be a Democrat, but I truly believe that we don't necessarily need a smaller government or a bigger government, but we need a better government that works for people, that's effective. So I got tired of putting a lot of band-aids on people's problems, working in our criminal justice system. It's part of the reason why I ran for public office. I'm honored to serve in the North Carolina Senate. I'm looking forward to telling you about some of the things that we've been doing in Raleigh to be more effective. So thank you for your time and thank you for having me.
Please, Senator, keep the mic up. And I'm going to start with a question for you. Educate our audience about what ban the box means as it relates to employment, credit, college enrollment.
So ban the box. So if you've ever filled out an application for it, whether you are a young high school student or you're an adult, you're filling out a job application. Unfortunately, there's a box on that job application that talks to you about, check the box if you've ever been convicted of a crime. And the sad reality is, for folks in North Carolina, at least 1 in 5 North Carolinians have a criminal record. And that criminal record can be a huge scarlet letter. And the reality is, if you have paid your dues to society, if you've taken admission of guilt, if you've been convicted in a courtroom, and you've taken responsibility, and you are on that road to redemption, as we see it, as a lot of the wonderful folks that are working that are on this panel working with our convicted individuals, you should not, unfortunately, have to deal with your past. That's all I'm saying. The reality is, over 35 states have taken the bold approach to ban box. So no longer would you see that box on job applications. It would actually be illegal. Where now employers, in general, some states have taken it even a step further when they brought in private employers into this, but a lot of the states have focused mostly on public employment. So state employees, cities and counties have focused on city and county employees. I'm thankful for our own city and our own county. We've been ahead of the curve and we did ban the box on a local level already. But the state has a lot of work to continue to do. There are folks still in our state assembly. I will tell you, again, being in the minority party, there are folks in the North Carolina General Assembly who don't necessarily believe in second chances, who believe that, hey, if you have this criminal record, now, whoa, we got to stigmatize you. Now everybody and the mother needs to know about your criminal record, which stacks the deck against people. So there is an effort across the country in North Carolina. I will tell you, I have a bill that I filed, with one of the first pieces of legislation that I filed when I came to the North Carolina Senate, which is to ban the box. But not only that, which takes it a step further, which basically says if you've been convicted of a crime, that you cannot inquire into a person's employment until you have provided them a conditional job offer, or at least after a job interview. So that way we're not weeding people out, because unfortunately that's exactly what happens. Folks should be able to come, speak to their employer, and stand on their own merits, instead of, again, what happened in the past being used against them. In addition, the bill would also require employers to look at, is your criminal record related to the job you're applying for? So for example, if you have a criminal record where you've stolen from Walmart, you have a conviction for a larceny. Now, Walmart may be able to look into your conviction for the larceny if you're applying for the job for a position as a cashier, for example. So the job duties would be related, but what does that have to do necessarily with somebody that's applying to be an electrician or a plumber, for example? So these types of common sense approaches are important, because this is exactly how we're going to build people in our state, in this country, instead of building business.
Ms. Macon, talk a little bit about the expungement process. You do all do wonderful work with the Council of Elders. Tell us a little bit about that.
Now, previously, if you had a criminal record, you would have to wait, whether you served your time or not, you would have to wait 15 years if you had a felony, and you would have to wait 10 years if it was a misdemeanor. So if in fact you have a sentence of 15 years and you're out, then that would mean that you have another 15 years before you can have your criminal record expunged. What that looks like in real life is you really served 30 years, a sentence of 30 years. Now, as of 2017, the governor, I guess he's heard a lot of clamor, particularly in Mecklenburg County, for criminal record expungements. Conversations were in Raleigh relative to the expungement time. While we wanted it to be even less, now, if you have a criminal record and it's a felony, it's 10 years, and if in fact it's a misdemeanor, there's a 5-year wait. So they decrease your time. But if you've been in prison or you had some type of conviction, you still have that 10 or 15, that 10 or 5 years added to the sentence you already served. So what the Mecklenburg Council of Elders looked at is we initially wanted to have what is called a Council of Elders. Every culture, there exists what is called the Council of Elders. And that is where individual citizenry can come to a body of individuals, not necessarily older people. Some people think, well, all of your council members are not old. Well, and that's really good. We don't want them old people. Because there has to be some understanding. So you assemble a group of individuals that have been trained in several areas to be able to hear situations and bring that before the community so that we can bring some community justice, if you will. In our process, which started actually at Community Relations Committee 5 years ago, we realized that we could not serve or solve rather all of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County problems. So we decided to look at a certain area, and we thought about intervention, prevention, and post-incarceration. Well, we felt that through the intervention and prevention areas, we had programs such as Know Your Rights and our Community Peace Law, and we wondered what were we going to do with post-incarceration. And we realized as we began our studies that in any given year, there are 30,000 people in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County alone walking around with criminal records that needed expunging because individuals are not aware when they have their court experience and they leave there, they now leave, they may have come by themselves, they now leave with a criminal record. So many individuals don't even realize they have criminal records. So Mecklenburg Council of Elders decided that post-incarceration would be our initiative, just a little program. So as we began to work, we set out the word, we're doing criminal record expungement, and we were expecting maybe 50 people to show up. Well, in our first expungement at Community Relations Committee, 300 people showed up, and we were prepared for 50. So we're like, what are we getting ourselves into? As we move forward, we realized that Community Relations Committee conference room was too small. So we went to the Urban League. We went to the Urban League, did a simple criminal record expungement, put out the word, and planned for maybe 100, maybe 150 people would show up. 1,200 showed up and circled the Urban League, and we were like, what do we do? And we realized that we really had to do more than just a little program that would interest 1 or 2 people. We really had to look at becoming not only post-incarceration, but becoming advocates for individuals that had criminal records. And so that process now, we used to do it by pencil and paper, then we went to computer. Now you can register anywhere you are, even if you moved out of county, you can register online wherever you are to have your criminal record expunged if in fact your incident happens in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. Currently, that's all we can handle right now because of legalities of other states and how they interpret their expungement process. So now once you register, you're online. It takes 45 to 60 days for us to get back with you because we now have to have your criminal record pulled. Once we pull the criminal record, it has to be evaluated by an attorney. Fortunately, the Charlotte Mecklenburg Assistant Public Defenders look at those records and see who qualified and who don't qualify. So we'll go through another process. If you qualify or don't qualify, it could be based on time. Perhaps you haven't waited the 5 or 10 years now for your record to be expunged. Sometimes not qualifying means that it's an issue we cannot handle, which is murder or pedophiles, and sometimes assault from a female. And we're working through that, and we have been able to do some expungements on assault on a female, particularly if the female has dropped the charges and the state has picked up those charges. So we can look at that. So now we go through that process of where you are in your qualification of expungement. After we do that, we find anywhere from 10 to 15 attorneys that will work with us at no cost to the individuals we're serving to now have what we call an expungement clinic. And that clinic is so that individuals can come in, sit with an attorney, and along with volunteers, and have their criminal record process paperwork completed and filed. Through our work, we have now amassed the help and the assistance of the court system. So now the individual that looks at the criminal record to send it, once the paperwork is done, to send it to Raleigh, is now at our expungement clinic. The assistant DA and the DA, for that matter, are now at the expungement clinic. So it's a one-stop shop. When you come to the clinic, you get to ask your questions, you get to complain if you want to, when you get to talk with an attorney about your criminal record, look at what can or cannot be expunged, and have that paperwork done. And right then and there, the Troy Hubbard is the clerk, the assistant clerk that takes care of all the paperwork for criminal record expungement. He's right there, so he does his job. The DA signs off on those criminal records that need to be signed off, and everything the very next day is sent to Raleigh for Raleigh to review. Once it gets to Raleigh, there is another background check to make sure that you do not have criminal records in other states. And once that's done, there's one young lady in Raleigh that pushes the button that removes the criminal record. They then send a letter back to Charlotte Mecklenburg Courthouse to let them know this process has been taken care of. And then again, Troy Hubbard sends a letter to you, letting you know it's expunged. When you go for an apartment, a job, a student loan, even when you're trying to get married, guys and women, there are people that will look up your criminal records and me. I'm not marrying you. You got a criminal record. We learned that in the process. This is not anything we do, but we had no idea that men and women were not even able to get married if they had criminal records. So once this happens, you then have your letter showing it's not there, and should your employer do a criminal record background check, you will not show up with that criminal record. So it's a long process, it's a tedious process. There are a lot of roadblocks, because I'll say this now, Madeline, and I don't know if I should, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Go ahead.
I have witnesses.
You're an elder, go ahead.
Thank you very much. We are actually creating some challenges here, because attorneys charge money for criminal record expungement, and we do not. So you can imagine what kind of dent we're putting into that whole economic process. So we are looking at ways that we can get this done expeditiously. However, there are attorneys that are saying, look, we're not doing this because you're hurting our bread and butter. I had one attorney tell me the baby needs shoes. So we know that we're impacting a certain area of economic development on one hand. However, when you look at the number of people that can get their lives back and they can they're put back on the voting rolls, they're put back on the tax paying rolls, we are actually creating economic development from that point.
Excellent. Can you speak to the age limit as it relates to drug charges and some of the weaknesses of the expungement law itself?
Age can be an issue, but you have individuals that had criminal records or gotten criminal records when they were 16. Now they're 45. And so it does not eliminate the fact that they can have their criminal record expunged. However, what is a bigger issue than age is when the incident happened.
Well, that's what I'm referring to. If it's after 21.
Right, when the incident happens, and if it happens at the same, in the same set of charges, then they can be expunged. But if in fact you created a crime, you did something at 16, and now you're 18, and you got another record, and then you're 21, and you have another record, all of those are subjected and looked at differently when it comes to the expungement process. The other thing I want to mention is, let's say your particular incident does not qualify for criminal record expungement. There is something that I'm sure later on we'll address called certificate of relief. And it is not being used in Charlotte Mecklenburg County, but it is legal. Check it out. Yes, certificate of relief allows your criminal record not to be expunged, but to be set aside if in fact it happened at an earlier age, and now you're doing other things, like you're running for office, you're serving the community, you're working in other areas, and you have become technically an upstanding citizen, but for your criminal record. A certificate of relief allows all of that criminal record to be set aside, the DA signs off on it, and now you can get jobs, apartments, student loans, and marriage with your certificate of relief. So that is something new that we are pushing for and bringing about, because the bottom line is we want everyone to leave our presence whole.
So, but if my charges, the senator's going to follow up, I think, I'm going to add something to it, but if I acquire charges at age 25, those are not eligible for expungement, or are they?
If you acquire charges at age 25,
Drug-related charges.
and the time limit has been 5 or 10 years now, yes, you can seek criminal record expungement. I know that there's some issue, and it may be a legal ramification as to whether or not you can get expunged, but you may have to go beyond us to get that answer. Because normally, everyone that comes to us, we've been able to look at their record and look at how we can expunge it or do a certificate of relief.
So just real quick, so right now, North Carolina's laws are so complicated, there's like so many different formulas for every like different circumstance, which complicates it, which confuses so many folks, and a lot of individuals end up thinking, from my personal experience, that they're not even eligible for expungement because they're so confused about what the policies are, what you can and what you cannot do. So I will tell you though, to make a couple of real quick points about this issue, is North Carolina in the last General Assembly session became one of the last states to finally raise the age. And when I talk about raise the age, I'm talking about when you're 16 or 17 years old. In North Carolina, you're still considered an adult. So you'd be going to adult court, not juvenile court. Juvenile court is where your records are sealed. So if you've ever been convicted of a juvenile case, you would never have to check the box saying you've been convicted. They're not considered convictions, they're considered adjudications. The problem our General Assembly did, they only expanded those raised the age cases for minor misdemeanors and low-level felony offenses. So for not all criminal cases. And our criminal justice system is about to be very overloaded starting December 1st, 2019, when raise the age is actually finally implemented. But the best quick fix for a lot of those issues that you're talking about is so complicated because she just told you how many they worked at Prision 50, almost 300 folks showed up. So 1.6 million, I believe, folks in North Carolina have criminal records right now. So if we could figure out a process to automatically expunge people's cases after some time, that would be the easiest way for you to go about doing your business. So there are bills proposed right now. I will tell you the Second Chance Act is a bill that I co-sponsored. It passed the North Carolina Senate. It's in the North Carolina House right now. I would urge all of you to reach out to your representatives. A lot of folks in Mecklenburg are supporting it, but we've got to reach out to some of the representatives from across the state. Some of the basic, simple things it does is because when you are even accused of a crime, now you have a mugshot, you might not even be convicted. People still think you are a convicted individual now of a crime. So if you, so basically you get an expungement for if your case gets dismissed automatically, automatic. So you wouldn't have to bother the council of elders, right? If your case gets dismissed by the DA, automatic expungement. Like you talked about when it comes to after quite some time, because like I said, there's different factors right now, different time limits. After 5 to 10 years for misdemeanors and felonies, after 10 years, you get automatic ability to get expungement. Not necessarily automatic for those, but petition those. Because right now they have limits on how many times you can get those. So the Second Chance Act, I would urge you all to look at it. It's a wonderful bill that's been catching steam across the country. A number of states are doing it. North Carolina is on the verge of doing it. We just really need North Carolina House to step up and pass that bill to make everybody's life a lot easier. Nobody should have to go spend a ton of money and hire an attorney to get their life back on track.
Thank you. So let's move to Ms. Stephens. We want you to expound on your personal story with your son. He survived 12 years in the cage, and he is 33 now. Talk about his reentry process and how he's fared, how your family's fared, and a little bit about how that led you into starting Lockdown.
First of all, I'd like to say I'm proud to be a part of, on the board of council of elders and the work that we're doing. I also sit on the governor's collaborative council, and so we're working very hard and work with the Second Chance program that the senator mentioned as well. When my son came home, looking at and applying for work was very difficult because of the fact that you have a record and it's not state charges, but it's federal charges. And as you know, the federal system works kind of different. You're looked at differently, believe it or not, even though you spent some time away, just as somebody who spent time away in the state facility as well. And looking at the reentry process, coming back, as far as the employment is concerned, you have employers who look at you differently because of the criminal past. You also, the medical is different. That process, going to see somebody, a lot of times they have different illnesses, health problems as well. Can't walk in, can't get food stamps if they need that. It's also a process, and it's very difficult for individuals who have been incarcerated to come back and live a normal life. So that's a major issue as well. Can't get an apartment or a house or rent because of the criminal background. That's an issue as well. So those things those are the things that led me to the Lockdown Love process and being able to help my son as well as other individuals who have experienced incarceration be able to get back on track and limit the restraints that they have as far as living a normal life.
And Mr. Johnson, go a little deeper for us into what probation and parole officers do. Tell us a little bit about parole officers, what they do in getting released back.
Okay, well, first of all, parole has been pretty much, parole has been abolished. So everyone that is released out of prison now is released under supervised release. If you have someone that is on parole, thank you. If you have someone that is in criminal or someone that you know is currently serving any type of parole sentence, it's because the charge is old and they served a little time. In that time, parole was in effect. So now it's just supervised release or straight probation. Your question again.
Expound on what probation officers are actually doing.
Okay.
Go a little deeper for us.
In reference to apartments and employment, offenders not being able to get employment, obtain housing, probation, we have $12,000 every so often that we use as second chance money to help pay for not the deposits, but maybe the first month rent, if they're able to secure, housing. As far as employment, we have offender workforce development teams that we're out speaking with employers trying to obtain positions for offenders, so defendants actually become gainfully employed. We find that to be very important. The unfortunate part is that most employers, apartment complexes, even they will not even take the time to get the disposition of what their offense is. It could have been dismissed. But just because it's on their record, they'll turn a nose or turn down the application to allow them to become either employed or obtain gainful housing. So a lot of folks are sent to transitional centers. We're looking for another Bureau of Prisons. They're allocating money just so that transitional housings that are up and currently running, they're able to obtain bed space for Bureau of Prison defendants or offenders. Probation, again, we work towards, we have a community service program where we're now trying to work through community service to see if our offenders can get employed after serving community service a period of time, voluntarily for that company. So we're out knocking on doors of employers, we're out checking with apartment complexes to see if it's possible to allow someone to live with a family member. Just because their name is not on the list, they don't allow them to live there. If you're a violent offender, CMPD or law enforcement agencies put out a notice to the area that person is living in because they have a record of violent offenses. So we're fighting a good fight, and we see some changes taking place. I think that employers are getting tired because one time you said, Senator Muhammad, there are a lot of people with criminal histories, and they need people to fill in these positions. So they're willing to at least give a chance or opportunity to someone that's on probation.
Which industries, in your experience, are more welcoming to returning citizens?
Oh, Walmart, sometimes Target, believe it or not, and I don't want to mess it up for folks that are hiring from these companies. So I really don't want to talk about it.
Not by company, but industry. But I know construction. What
Construction and car dealerships, they figure the best person can say your car's a car. It works. I mean, it works. Different places like car washes. Every now and then we'll get fortunate. A bank may hire someone. So it's like industries like that. Trying to send people back to school. Second chance when North Carolina works. We're trying to make sure that folks obtain their CEO license. It's a big plus for a lot of our people. But the unfortunate part is that they spend the fence. We sometimes cannot allow them to leave the state. So we look for local companies that allow them to drive locally. Amazon, and we'll say Amazon because they were pretty good at hiring some of our folks doing different career development, planning, and stuff like that.
Yes.
One of the latest industries is the sports industry, and Mecklenburg Council of Elders is now partnering with professional boxing. Most I'd say 95% of the boxers that you see have criminal records. They're not boxing because they like getting hit upside the head. They are boxing because for a fight, win or lose, they make money. And this is how they make a living. We just had a boxer here that not only was he homeless, but he didn't have a job, he was hungry, and he couldn't practice, or whatever they do, train his boxing field, and he had a fight coming up this July. So what they call council of elders, because what we're learning is that they think that council of elders can do everything, so they look that way, but we really can't. Our volunteers, and some of them in the room here, help to make us look good. But this particular boxer needed home, needed housing, needed job training. He even needed to learn how to speak to the people that he was trying to go get a job from. And we really had to pull everyone together to do that. So boxing, the sports industry, is another area you'll see individuals going into because they have criminal records and cannot get the jobs that they really want. And they have degrees. So that becomes very interesting.
We want to begin to open this up to our guests. And I want to make more tangible the barriers that you each described. Because we're talking at a high level. And those of you who know AccessFoundation.org, we provide 24-hour reentry mentoring to men and women coming home from prison. And the obstacles that our panelists have been speaking about, on any given day, a person coming home from prison can go from DSS, where he's denied food stamps, to an employer, a private employer, where he has to put that he was convicted of a felony, to look for an apartment where as soon as he is being transparent, say, yes, I did some time, even if it was 10 years ago, and he's had, gainful employment, turned down for an apartment, to,
going back to school.
Going back to school, yes. So these things are compounding. And according to one study, there are 45,000 collateral consequences to having a record. And no one person experiences all 45,000, but if you experience 200 or 300 or 50 of those collateral consequences, whether it's, restitution, right? So you're earning minimum wage and you're expected to continue to pay back the courts the cost of your case or the victim of your offense. Oh, okay, thank you. So I just wanted to give some hands and feet to the discussion, because we've seen people who, people are ending up in the homeless shelter because of all of these barriers. And it's very difficult to break this cycle until there's a big piece of reentry we have not yet spoken of, and that is us as a community. Because we are often in positions where we can establish policies that are open and welcoming, and we do not. And our churches, I have so many reports of our mentees who've gone to houses of worship, and once it's discovered they have a record, they're not welcome, even in a house of worship. Yes.
I just want to say that every year, 650,000 people being released from prisons. We don't even have enough probation officers to actually handle those type of caseloads. When I was really on the streets, we had a caseload of 75 to 85 people. And the majority of those folks won't stay probation, and their caseloads were to 100, 110. So trying to get in front of everyone, trying to have quality supervision, not quantity. Well, for Washington, D.C., beds of people, forget to say people on caseloads, those are work units for us. So when you hear about second chance money is being diminished, or being taken away, or transitional housing are being taken away, we're paying more money for prisons to take care of people to learn how to be better, become better criminals than the actual probation officers that are trying to reestablish a plan and goals for people to be successful. So I just want you to keep that in mind. 3% of these folks out of 650,000 people are returning within the first 6 months to a year back to prison. So as you ask these questions, I can't speak of any cases, but I can tell you the rest of the district is doing all the problems in to make sure people are successful.
And to add to that, the first turn down that they get, not in the DSM, the first turn down they get is in the household, from family members, who now saw them as big brother, big daddy, uncle so-and-so, and now they see them as things coming. Oh, we're in prison. So they get that turned down, and then they get the turn down, recognizing that there's something wrong with them, some mental health issues, that their mental health issues are not addressed as well. So I had a young man tell me on my way here, and I said, I'm going to speak before we individually, and the question is, what happens when I come home from prison? And what he told me was, coming home from prison is like having a blind date with tomorrow.
That's heavy. Something I wanted to add too. I'm also part of the Reentry Partnership of Mecklenburg County. And with that organization is probably about 45 or more organizations that all come together and meet. And it's a meeting of the minds, it's a meeting of organizations and networking, and each one of us have something to offer. And so we constantly work. We do career fairs twice a year, and it's just for people with criminal backgrounds as well. And so within that organization, there's also housing that's available. There's also mental health agencies, and that's something that is not being addressed enough, is the mental health status of the individuals coming home. And I don't care if you've done a year, to 10 years, to 20 years, it has to be addressed. Because anytime you're in that environment and you have to readjust, there is mentally, it's mental issues. There's a deficit there that has to be addressed because it affects the household. And that household, especially when they come back, as you said, Maria, when they come back, the expectations of the baby mamas, the expectations of the mothers, the expectations of the fathers, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, and they don't think about where they are mentally and what they had to deal with. We don't know if we're not in there and how it affects each individual personally. And that's definitely an issue.
So real quick, earlier you mentioned restitution. The reality is we as a society and even as a government, we stack the deck against people. We literally set people up for failure. Not only do folks have to worry about restitution when they don't have the money, they have to worry about paying supervision fees for their probation officers. They have to worry about paying court fees and fines. They have to worry about paying the fines and fees, the lab fees for their drug cases. They basically have to pay for those same fees that when we're sending out drug kits to be tested. They're paying hundreds of dollars for those fees to be checked. We love to criminalize poverty in our society, and it's a bullshit. We have over 3 million folks right now. We ended the cost of charging people court fees and fines because they can't even afford to pay those and lose their driver's license. Imagine if you get your driver's license. Now you can go to work. You can go to housing. But again, we criminalize people. I remember the first time when I first became a public defender, I had my first adult client, and it blew me away. It was an older gentleman who had been in and out of the system. And he literally got himself arrested and wanted himself to stay in jail because he couldn't pay his probation supervision fees. He couldn't pay the restitution fees that he earned. He didn't have enough money to find housing at all. So he said, you know what? I want to be in the Mecklenburg County jail. And he would constantly get himself arrested. And I'm thinking, hey, this is my first bond hearing. I get all these wonderful questions, get this gentleman out of jail today so he can get back to his regular life. And he's like, no, I'm actually getting medication here, getting mental health treatment here. And it broke my heart that people in our society, in this very city, believe that their lives are better in their county jail than on the streets of the city. That's what's so disheartening.
And that's the detention center too. We have them in Stonewall Jackson. I have individuals, young men that rather be in the detention center rather than on the street.
Because the streets are the community is hostile. And I'm glad that we're having these conversations, but the community as a whole is hostile to people coming home from prison. And we got to get to these questions. Yes.
Just so you know, also, they're charging people who found drugs in the car, the tax, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for people who are going to jail. And they can't get the license because the tax penalty is still there just because the drugs were found in the deals.
And that makes no sense real quick because you gotta remember a lot of these folks are getting court-appointed lawyers. They can't even afford to hire their lawyer, like they're being given all these fees by judges in folks. It makes absolute zero sense.
We have a mentee that owes $1.2 million, and she is making them away. So we have a question from one of our guests. How do you prepare children and spouses for someone to come home? And I'm going to ask you to keep so we can get as many questions as possible. You raise your hand if you want to respond, and then keep your response to 45 seconds or less. Yes, sir.
I'll consider myself an expert.
Yes.
But however, you just need to be open, honest with the people in your household, and have an understanding that this person is may violate. If they do, you have to give people second chances. You just have to walk in their shoes to understand that it's going to be a change, and that there has to be someone you have to work to accept the person that's home. And you have to deal and understand that there are going to be all types of personalities from dealing with being locked up with someone you just trying to deal with. And you just have to understand.
I want to add to that because of the work that we do. Ms. Stephens mentioned the mental health challenge when someone comes home. So let me break it down what it looks like inside the household. Someone comes home after 10 years and he goes to the refrigerator and buys food and puts his food in one section of the refrigerator. And if his mom or dad moves that food, that milk carton, that soda out of place, it causes an argument, right? The conditioning stays with men and women coming home. And the person stays in, your daughter or your son may stay in their bedroom as if it were a cage and not communicate with the rest of the family. They come, if they have a job or they're looking for work, they come in, they go, they lock the bedroom door, they stay there. They come out, they eat only what they purchased and expect no one else to touch what they purchased. That's just one example. We have someone here by the name of Reverend Dr. Willie Keaton Jr. Will you stand, please?
Right.
Okay, yes, sir. You wanted to make some comments.
How y'all doing? Good. I think this is a very important conference, powerful conference, and there are some success stories out there, but it's a really, I think, I was talking to the social justice director, and I come out of South Jersey. I was arrested in 1990 for possession with intent to distribute. And now I'm a pastor now, pastor in Mount Island Presbyterian Church. I was by the airport, also worked at Queens University. But it's amazing how something that you've done almost 30 years ago, people will still bring it up. And you can't get rid of certain convictions, especially if it's possession with intent to distribute. So you can't expunge that unless they're changing the laws here in North Carolina. But I know in New Jersey, you could get caught with maybe 50 pounds of marijuana. But if you get caught with an ounce of cocaine, and they say you are intending to distribute it, then that stays with you forever. And so that's the laws, and that's the difficulties in trying to overcome it. You know, by God's grace, I was able to overcome it. You know, now I got my doctorate degree. I'm pastor of church, and there are a lot of brothers who want to turn their life around. They want to turn their life around. And that's why it's important for us to build personal relationships with these individuals. I mean, you can change the laws and we can have programs, but if you don't inspire these brothers will go back to jail. Because of the way the system is designed, it's designed from the moment you come out of jail, it's designed to start beating you down. And so you ever notice how brothers they could be in jail and for 5 straight years they'll be saying, you know, I'm never coming back to jail. And they believe that in their heart, they're never coming back. But the reality is that the moment they leave that prison, that's when all of the trials and tribulations, that's when all of the pressure is going to hit them, that's when all of the disappointment is going to hit them, and slowly but surely, their will to stay free begins to leave them. And so we have to figure out programs that are interpersonal in terms of, I'm going to come beside you, I'm going to reach out to you, I'm going to call you. Not just here's my office number, but here's my cell number. 10 o'clock at night, if you're discouraged and you need somebody to talk to, you can call me. And these are the kind of programs we need.
Thank you so much for saying that. And we'll see in touch with you.
Question?
There was a follow-up to the report of Anthony said, and that is called Office of Returning Citizens Affairs. And there is only one Office of Returning Citizens Affairs, returning citizens, those individuals coming home from prison. There's only one Office of Returning Citizens Affairs in the United States, it's in Washington. And we have been petitioning Charlotte-Mecklenburg County, both city and county commissioner, to allow such an Office of Returning Citizens Affairs here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County. It will help provide housing, there's a prototype of how you do it, housing, temporary employment until they can learn a skill to get a job, your driver's license, voter registration, every education if you want it, everything you need in the Office of Returning Citizens Affairs. And both Beth and I have been working on that process for about 3 years prior to today, and we're still working on making that happen. I've visited Washington twice to see it operating in Washington. It's very well operating, but it has to be supported by both city and county, as well as the federal government will support it once you get started, and they will triple match whatever city and county puts into it. But we need to advocate for that.
My recommendation, and I've been aware that conversation is happening, and thank God for your all's leadership on that. My recommendation, and maybe too late, is that it be community run now. Absolutely. And obviously, absolutely, yeah. Because we need her to speak. She's got to go. Okay.
Well, I'm a proud member of the Monroe Council of Elders. I'm a board member. My name is Dr. Vanessa Stewart. New mom. And I just wanted to say one quick comment. When we talk about how it is that we welcome our returning citizens, we have to welcome them and just being very transparent with more than just compassion. There has to be an understanding of value, okay? Because if you don't recognize, because I can say, oh yeah, I'm so happy that you're back, but that can be empty. But if I tell you that I value you and I can give you examples, tangible examples on what it is that you bring to the table, how it is that you contribute, that helps to not only restore that person's spirit, but also our humanity. And the only way that we can do that as a community, especially our Black and brown community, is to educate yourself on what is happening when they're in prison. Because the reason why the system continuously is set up to break them down when they leave is because it is extremely lucrative for them to be there. On average, 35 cents an hour is what they make in North Carolina to make your glasses, to make the chairs, to all of the furniture that you see. The majority of the furniture, some of the largest furniture companies are wholesaled through prison labor. They have a contract with NASA. So this is not about uneducated, unskilled labor. 60% of our organic foods, because the majority of the prisons in North Carolina and South Carolina and many of the southern states have horticulture. They're growing the organic foods that you go into posh grocery stores like Publix and Harris Teeter and purchase. And they're making 35 cents an hour. So when you think about those types of things, and you think about the fact that if I came home and I did federal time working for the federal government in Washington, D.C., I would be welcomed with open arms. Well, many of these individuals that are coming home, especially if they're doing federal time, they have the same types of skill sets that you would find in a government job. But it's not translated here, and it's not welcome and valued. So that's just something that I wanted to make sure that I imparted on our people. I'm thankful for this forum. Gotta go.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Please send your questions in writing for me, exception that she's a mom and with a baby that has to be.
Yes.
To her point about the value of people that we don't recognize, if I could take one thing that we impress upon the training for our mentors who are there at 10 o'clock at night, people, is that relieve yourself. We need to relieve ourselves of the idea that there's any difference. And a lot of times we actually very insulting to people coming home by assuming that they don't have certain skills and abilities. And we need to take the time to get to know them just like we would any person we're meeting for the first time. Please never ask somebody, what did you do? We already know that 96% of convictions are based on plea bargaining, which means the truth of what happened never really was considered. So if it's relevant to helping them start over, we phrase it in this way: what were the charges? Right? That's a neutral way of recognizing that something happened. And once we know what the charges are, we can start to envision what kind of barriers you may be up against. But it says nothing about guilt or innocence or any of that. That's just one small example of how to be more welcoming. We have a question: does every person, and I'll direct this to you, Mr. Johnson, does every person released from prison or jail, are they automatically put on probation?
Not every person, but it depends on the charge, the sentence, and also the judge makes that determination. So everyone's not automatically put on supervision, but I would say 95% of people that come to the court system, they end up serving time are placed on some type of supervision.
What's the average length of that supervision?
Based on the charges, 5 to 10 years. We've been fortunate to get 2 or 3 years, but most of the charges are at least 5, 10, 15, sometimes 20. And if it's a sex offender, sometimes it could be
Thank you. We have the Director of Youth Engagement with us. The Mecklenburg Council of Elders, who wants to make a statement.
I wasn't expecting to actually make a statement. But I can speak from here, because we do have a panel that has more information. But I want to share with you all, again, I'm Ron Adams, Director of Youth Engagement, and I am a walking and living example of both certificate of relief and expungement. Okay? So I got a certificate of relief over 30 years ago in New York City, which you're familiar with, a lot of youthful offenders. I was 19 and a half and under. What I had to do was I had to change my environment to basically change my way of life and my way of thinking. okay? So what I did was I got COR in New York City back in 1987, and Mecklenburg Council who was in front of the county a couple of years ago with the North Carolina Bar, and it was interesting to know that COR wasn't even a really part of the discussion. They just started COR, I believe, about 11 years ago. They started not focusing, but talking about certificates of relief. But they weren't telling anybody, or should I say the attorneys weren't conveying that to offenders, or whatever that case may be. I also received an expungement 27 years ago out of Columbia, South Carolina. So as Director of Youth Engagement, again, what we are doing with Mecklenburg County, I'm so proud to say that I'm a living example of that. And since I have been expunged also with Banner College, I'm familiar with that process because I've had several jobs, many jobs since I've been down here. And when I had to ask that question, and I said yes, when I had a record felonies at that time. I was in Rikers Island. You heard about Rikers Island, New York. I've been there twice. I know what that was like. But what I had found out was when jobs called me or didn't call me and said that I could not get the job, what I found was I was receiving a letter that said this. The letter that got back to the employer said, this applicant may not be eligible for hire. It was underlined, may not. So what I took it as, that didn't mean I couldn't be hired. It was a good somewhere. So therefore, the employer was just passing over. So what I would do is I took it upon myself. I would go get my record from Charlotte Police Department or wherever my record was, and I would take it to the employer and let them know I'm qualified for this job. And that's the steps I had to take to fight to make sure I got the job as working for the state of South Carolina. I worked for the state of South Carolina Department at that time, retardation. When I moved here to Charlotte, I worked for Mecklenburg Youth and Family Services. From there, I was a behavior specialist at Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. I became a personal banker. And I had many jobs. And one thing about me, I like working for anybody. That's something else. But my last job, and I'll say my last employment will be with North Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice as a juvenile detention counselor. I just accepted that job a couple of years ago. So I'm still a work in progress. I'm still a work in progress. I haven't succeeded that. I'm still working on it, but I know as a family member of Mecklenburg Council, we are doing the work. We have changed a lot, and I'm so proud of my director, Maria Macon, and Camille Stevens, what the work they're doing, because those are my mentors. Those help me to stay on point, stay on track.
What does society do? I guess this is meant for you and any other panelists who want to answer this. What does society do with people who cannot re-enter society? So I guess those who have life sentences, what happens to them? Is that the question? Is that the right?
I asked a question.
Okay. Is that what you meant?
I'm basically stating that these are left out of society and then not allowed to enter society, but find gainful employment, housing, food. Society is barring them out of society. What do you do with these people?
We let them die or we send them back to prison.
That's my question. What do you do with people in society?
Their health deteriorates until they die or they go back to prison.
Because I can just tell you, so for example, in North Carolina right now, we have about 50,000 people incarcerated right now, either in our county jails across the state or in our state prisons. The reality is, again, the deck is stacked against them. Almost 98% of those folks will eventually be released, right? Within the coming days, coming weeks, coming months, coming years. But the reality is almost 50% of them will be returning to prison. That's just the reality.
Because we don't have enough support like the council levels, like lots of
What I thought of when you asked that question were individuals. We applied for funding from Zista Reynolds Foundation. And Zista Reynolds Foundation said if in fact we were an organization and we wanted the funds to build housing for men that were pedophiles or for men that were sex offenders, that we could get the funding. We could not get funding if we were just talking about expunging their criminal record. So there are areas where individuals that cannot be maybe around.
I'm sorry, Joe, but not only them, but those who have like drug charges. What if a person has been robbery, they get 10, 15 years? Why, when they get locked out of society, what do you do with it?
Well, I think that's the question. A lot of people that come to the system have served like 10, 15, 20, 30 years. When we get out, we open up as all probation officers. We have specialists that work with those particular offenders to help them with direction, resources, housing, whether it is a transition like sex offenders. We have transitional housing for sex offenders that not we have, but the community has. Where it might be 15 to 20 sex offenders living in a house, but at the same time, that's the places where they have to live based on the nature of.
I'm not talking about sex offenders.
No, how we use that as an example.
Let me respond, because Clifton and I have worked together a lot in the past. And here's an example based upon what you just said. We had a mentee who did 16 years for armed robbery. He got out 2008 or so. And the first thing he did was get funds, federal funds, to go to community college. And he began working on a degree in human services. And his mentors supported him throughout that. His Exodus mentors, the trained mentors, supported him throughout that process. He finished on the dean's list. We used our reputation to help him get a job in his field. So on our stationery, we vouched for him so he could enter his field. Now, and when the record is old enough, sometimes it doesn't appear. But that's the community. We cannot underestimate the community support, because if you don't have that, it's very hard to continue to make.
I'm underestimating support. I'm saying there should be more community support.
Well, no, I agree. I understood what you were saying there. So we're going to have to wrap up now, and I want to give each of our panelists, let's give a round of applause.
Again, thank you for having me. I just want to tell you, a lot of the advocates that are doing a lot of great work in this community, we're so thankful for your work. But these advocates need help for the individuals that we're talking about. Folks like myself need your help in places like Raleigh, right? To continue to advocate for our action and bring about change. Folks that are coming out from incarceration are dependent on us to fight for them. They need to come out of the dark. I will tell you right now, for example, I have to talk about this real fast. We saw our legislature attacking our sheriff when it came to the ICE bill. We love to make black and brown people look like monsters in our society. Okay? It's just the mentality. We gotta ratchet up the crime. We gotta make as many punitive measures as we can. We gotta deport them even though they've been here 15, 20 years. It doesn't matter. We love to scare people. Fear mongering is a real thing. And society has to do its part to make sure that we're doing our part to bring these folks back into the circle and supporting them and getting them across the finish line. So thank you all for being here today.
There are people that assist us in the little council developments, and what I'd like to do in my little time is to ask the volunteers that are in here, that are volunteers or part of that little council development, to please stand. The interesting here is that we do need support, we need your support, but more and importantly, we need you to attend to forums like this so that you can get informed. The worst thing you can say is, I didn't know. And it's impossible for you not to know. With what Madeline is doing, I met Madeline, oh my So many years ago, we're still 16, but we met so many years ago, but it's important that you get involved. There are a lot of organizations out here trying to help. They lack manpower, they lack human resources to get out and help us do the work. So answer the call when we ask for help. And remember, people coming home from prison, people with criminal records are not monsters. They made a mistake. And my son said that's why they have erasers on pencil. Okay?
I just want to say that, in reference to this question right quick, is what we do is go inside the prisons and prepare them for coming home. So with that, I'm in the federal prisons and the state prisons as well, so I encourage any of you, if you'd like to go with me in August, we are doing mock interviews, and that is preparing them for coming back to the community. That's one thing that we do. So what I like to say is, just like Maria said and the rest of us, we are talking about people. We're talking about our people. These are not strangers. They look like us. Every time I go inside, it's always brown people. It's sad to say. And so when I talk to them in there, when I talk to the lighter skinned people, they already have their network. They have somebody usually in there for white collar crimes. We're in there for drugs normally, or maybe killing somebody. But with that, we need more men to really stand up and stand out and encourage each other again when they come out, as somebody said earlier. That's very important. And then one other thing is the youth that's in there. We have got to look at the groundwater. We've got an organization that we're working on now. North Carolina has $650 million, and Maria and I are part of this work of this nonprofit that we're putting together, and it's for areas as well. So we've got to look at why these young people are going to prison and why it's continuous. The door is revolving open from the groundwater aspect. Also, know your rights is September the 8th. That is where we have the officers come, we have the DA come. Oh, September 14th, I keep saying September the 14th, and we encourage you to get some information. That is where we have all of us coming together and have you understand, you, the community, understand exactly how the process works, how people start their criminal records, some of the things that they need to do and some of the things they don't need to do, so they won't involve themselves in the criminal record, in the criminal background.
Following up on what everyone has said, one thing is get out and vote. Whatever else you say, if you can't vote, okay, some of you will be here having forced to say anything. Get out and vote. Second is to stop the curse. We have to do more with just the youth, not even in prison, but the ones that are out here now. They're single family, they're part of single family homes. We must do more with them. We must do anything. We have too much, we do less. With too much to not be there for our own. So those are the two big things. Those can help you.
Amen. And I will leave you with this and bring Mr. Tude up. Trauma. At the root of a lot of the acting out is trauma. We didn't get to talk about it a lot tonight. But if we heal the trauma and we address the trauma before young people and adults get into the system, and afterwards, we can do a lot to turn this around. Last week, Jesus loved guilty people. So the church, if we are a church, ought to be the first welcoming station when people come home from prison. Jesus loved guilty people. All guilty people.
Follow that. Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming and sharing this time with us on interrupting the Cradle to the Prison pipeline. Where did we go? Where do I go when I come home from prison? And this wonderful panel, thank you so much. Our next session will be on the new bail policy
on July the 14th in this room at 3 o'clock. So you don't want to miss that either. You've heard the controversy, recent controversy about that. And we want to make sure that you have a good understanding of this blue veil policy for Mecklenburg County. And again, thank you all for being here and spending time with us. There's more to come from the social justice ministry here at Friendship Missionary Baptist. Stay tuned. You can go to our website at www.friendshipcharlotte.org/SJM. And on that note, our panelists will be here to answer any direct questions that you may have. But on that note, we will close in a word of prayer. Sister Gabe, if you will come and dismiss us in prayer. And we stand, please.
This is a subject I didn't know a lot about, so I'm going to take the panel and the audience, because a lot of you guys made comments, and I heard things that I didn't know, so I'm going to thank you all. So it was very informative, very informative. Okay, and the worst thing the thing was that we come in the way at church. With that in mind, we'll close our eyes and let our prayers. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the people that you have on this mission. And thank you, God, for what they've done through their lives and through their missions. Lord, thank you for the solutions that we've heard, and we thank you that now hopefully we understand the problems. So I thank you for these people, Lord. But mainly I want to lift up, Heavenly Father, those people who are coming back into society. Help them, God, to understand that you are a God who wants to use them to bring them home. You are God who always gives them a chance to start over again. You are God who, morning by morning, mercies you give us, God. And you give us these mercies so that we can avoid it and we can prevent obstacles that will keep us from going back, that will make us go back, God, to that course that we were on that was a destruction in our life. So Lord, I ask that we lift these people up, God, and I ask that the people of faith be there to help and to do now that we have learned, because God, who among us has not lost his or her way? So thank you, Heavenly Father, for this mission and for these people. In your precious Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.